the Yankees are up 3-0.
This is a team that never give up. Even if we lose the game, we still play the game right.
Swing, and there's a shot deep to right. That ball is gone. A home run. It's all over the Red Sox. I'm still breathing. Swing, and he muscles one. Shadow center, base hit, and here comes David to win it. The Red Sox are going to New York. David Ortiz does it again. Ortiz blasts one. Right field. There it goes. Gone. Adios, Pelota. And Senor October strikes again.
The Red Sox have won the American League pennant. Move over, babe. The Red Sox are American League champions. The Boston Red Sox are the world champions. Can you believe it?
It is a chaotic scene. A pair of explosions on the north side of Boylston Street, what was supposed to be the finish line to the Boston Marathon.
This jersey, it doesn't say Red Sox. It say Boston. This is our city. And nobody gonna dictate our freedom. Stay strong.
Ortiz to right field. It is gone! David Ortiz, the newest member of the 500 Club. Big Papi, the greatest clutch hitter in Red Sox history.
The game that I love, the game that made me be who I am, is something that definitely I'm gonna carry it the rest of my life.
He is certainly going to be missed by more than just Red Sox fans. And with the crowd calling for one final encore after the Red Sox were eliminated by the Indians in Game 3 of the ALDS, David Ortiz came out to say goodbye, as you saw, to Fenway and the Boston fans one final time. He's the first Red Sox player to have his number retired while he's still active. But, Max, the question is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
First ballot Hall of Famer? Nope.
Really?
No, that's not a hard call. Eventually, with some context, we put him in the Hall of Fame. Yes, I do think eventually he'll have a case. First ballot Hall of Famer? Absolutely not. Look, let's start with the failed PED test in 2003. It was supposed to be a secret test, and it was leaked. The results were leaked. And that may be unfair to David Ortiz. If you think you're taking a secret test and the results become public, that's unfair. And yet we do have that knowledge. We can't kind of take that out of our brain, especially with a guy who was thought once upon a time in Minnesota to be a good left-handed platoon DH kind of guy, maybe, and then wound up released by Minnesota and turns out to be one of the, great sluggers of his era. Now, look, he did wind up with Hall of Fame numbers, even in a PED era, although there are other DHs like Jim Thome, for example, who hasn't come up on the ballot yet, but when he does, should get in ahead of David Ortiz. Jim Thome had more home runs than David Ortiz, by 50, 60 home runs. It's 612 to under 550 for Ortiz. He had around the same on-base percentage, around the same slugging percentage, around 550, but an on-base percentage 20 points higher. And unlike David Ortiz, Jim Thome actually played the field. He played not only some first base, but some third base. David Ortiz only had fewer than 2 seasons worth of any defensive value whatsoever, and that as a bad defensive first baseman. So he's a one-way player in a steroids era in which he has been suspected and maybe implicated, if you consider a released secret test score an implication, where he was never the best hitter in the league. He was among the best hitters in the league for a very long time and had 0 defensive value. He was a clutch hitter. There's a debate about whether clutch hitting exists or not, but to my eyes, if there's a such thing as a clutch hitter, it's David Ortiz, who, while his overall postseason value, Stephen A., is very similar to his regular season value. It's not like he elevated overall, but in the World Series, which I don't care if you say, well, he just happened to get hot in the World Series. Those are very high-leverage games. He played in 14 of them and absolutely raked. So I do think he gets extra credit for that. Maybe there's a Hall of Fame case. It's a borderline Hall of Fame case, and it's certainly not first ballot.
I disagree with you. In my opinion, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I do understand the argument when people would say no Bonds, no Clemens, no A-Rod, then it damn sure can't be David Ortiz. But what I would say is that all of them have PED-related cases involved in terms of staining and sullying their name. Bonds, the cream and the clear. A-Rod, serial perpetual liar. In the case of Clemens, you know, sitting up there when he had every opportunity to just mind his business and ride into the sunset, he's going to literally wag his finger in front of folks on Capitol Hill after taking pictures with senators and congressmen, of course, sitting up there talking about, you know, he didn't do anything wrong when your own wife is on the cover of Sports Illustrated, whatever magazine it was, looking more ripped than him. And we found out that he had stuff delivered to his house. I'm sorry. I don't put David Ortiz in that category. The lone stain on David Ortiz's career was that secret test from 2003 where it intimated that, you know, he tested positive for PEDs. He has categorically denied it. He was never suspended. He was never reprimanded, to my knowledge. And so when I look at it from that perspective, it's their word against his. Nothing followed up after that. That is that. Now we get to the baseball field. You want to tell me he's a DH? Fine. You want to use the argument that he didn't play the field? Fine. Let me look at this. Two-time World Series champion with the Boston Red Sox, okay? You got 10-time All-Star with the Boston Red Sox, a career 286 average, a career 380 career on-base percentage, 2,472 hits, ranks 103rd all-time, 541 homers, ranks 17th all-time, 1,768 RBIs, ranks 27th all-time, okay? 22nd, I'm sorry, and 1,192 extra base hits, ranks 8th all-time. You yourself, Max, has pointed out how clutch he was. We also know that two franchises had a curse associated with their name. The Boston Red Sox were one of them. He's one of them that helped overcome all of that. I look at this guy and what he's been able to do. And I say to myself, excuse me, only third Major League Baseball player in history with 500 home runs and 600 doubles. Only Barry Bonds and Hank Aaron did that. Last 4 years of his career, he had at least 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. Last 4 years of his career, going out strong, didn't nosedive, or as you would say, falling off a cliff, like the Roadrunner, beep, 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 beep. That did not happen to this man. And so I look at it from that perspective. 12 of his 14 seasons with Boston, he had at least 500 plate appearances, which speaks to his reliability. The list goes on and on. I'm just saying to myself, this dude right here, 2004 ALCS, had walk-off hits on consecutive nights to keep the Boston Red Sox alive. This dude shows up in clutch moments. He has the numbers, which baseball is all predicated on. To me, the one thing you could hold against him definitively, because tradition says so, since he'll need 75% of the votes, of guys voting in his favor, and they usually vote towards tradition. The one thing he'll have against him is the PED situation in 2003. He denied it. They said it was accurate. Nothing happened to him at that moment, and nothing has happened since. What's the problem?
He was also playing at Fenway Park. One of the reasons, like everyone say, well, Jim Rice's personality kept him out of the Hall of Fame. But it's also because Jim Rice had home road splits and he benefited by hitting at Fenway Park, and Rice was not a very good defender.
I agree with that.
But Rice was a defender. Rice did play left field for many years. David Ortiz brings you zero defensive value except for the 300 games in total.
I want to hear about
that. He played at
Baseball's
first base
about the numbers, bro.
Poorly.
Hall of Famers are about the offensive numbers.
But the numbers count in the field, too. And if you're only on one side of the ball, for example, Edgar Martinez. Edgar Martinez, one of the 3 or 4 best right-handed hitters of the modern era. I mean, you talk about Vladimir Guerrero, Pujols, maybe Frank Thomas, maybe Manny Ramirez. But Edgar Martinez is right there. And Edgar Martinez played some defense early in his career. Not well, but at least he was out there at third base.
Well, if you didn't play it well, it don't matter that you played it.
Well, no, it does.
If you didn't play it well, it don't matter that you played it.
It does matter because it means you get a bat at a position where it's hard to find a bat. Anyone can DH. You can find a hitter anywhere. Not like David Ortiz, which is why I agree he has a case.
Not like David Ortiz.
But I don't know that it's a winning case. He's a hitter benefiting from hitting at Fenway Park, zero defensive value, never the best hitter in the league. And there is the at least whiff of PEDs around it because of that 2003 report.
I can't.
Hitters just as good as him, like Edgar Martinez, are not in the Hall. Why should he be in the Hall? Maybe, but it's not a slam dunk.
It's not fair for you to bring up the fact that he was playing at Fenway Park. If that's the case, they should win the World Series every year. Eventually, there's 3 outs. There's 27 outs. There's 27 outs that occur in the game, and last time I checked, 81 and 82 nights a year, they appear at Fenway Park, okay? So the bottom line is, just because you're playing at Fenway Park doesn't mean it's a given that you're going to do the things that David Ortiz has done.
It means you should do better than you would otherwise.
Not to mention clutch. I saw him smack home runs in Tampa. I saw him smack home runs at Yankee Stadium. Fenway Park wasn't the only place he smacked home runs. But this man has shown up.
He's helped by that offensive environment. And I will say this about clutch. As a Yankees fan, the last time a guy scared me at the plate like David Ortiz was probably George Brett when I was a little kid.
Then your argument is done. Your argument is done because you're conceding he feared you.
There
are
clutch hitters. But George Brett played third base. He played a position where it's hard to find a bat. David Ortiz
ain't nobody saying he don't belong in there.
David Ortiz played in an era where runs were cheap. He was never the best run producer. And
so now we holding the error against
value, meaning he played in a position where offense is cheap.
So we're gonna hold the error against him now. Come on, Max. Yeah. You're holding. Hold on. Let's put it in perspective. You're holding the error against him.
Sure.
You're holding the park that he played in against him. Mm-hmm. You're holding the PED test, which he's categorically denied against him. I mean, let me ask you a question, Max. You got a problem with the car he drives? Socks he wears, what he eats for dinner? I mean, it seems to me like you're just coming up with one thing after another.
Are you suggesting that my hatred of the Red Sox is coloring my view of David Ortiz?
Listen. Yeah,
because while that's a good argument, in fact, it's incorrect in this case. I'm not saying he should never be in the Hall of Fame. Maybe the argument will be made successfully one day that he belongs in there. I'm saying I know a first ballot Hall of Famer when I see one, and it's not that I'm holding the fact that he DH'd, that he played for the Red Sox, and all that against him. I'm saying considering those factors, you have to do an awful lot to overcome them. Has he done a lot? Enough? Maybe. But has he done more than Edgar Martinez? Maybe not. Has he done more than Jim Thome? No, he hasn't. Thome hasn't been up to the vote yet.
I heard you. I heard you loud and clear. You're wrong. And I'm telling you you're wrong because of the stuff that you keep bringing up. It ain't his fault. I mean, listen, you playing at Fenway Park, you playing at Fenway Park. If we're going to disqualify him, what we're going to do? Disqualify all members of the Boston Red Sox because of the park they playing because of the uniform that way? That's asinine, okay? The fact of the matter is the ball has to connect with the bat and go a few hundred feet in order for it to be a home run. And David Ortiz has done that better than most in Major League Baseball history.
Right.
That is a fact. And so when you look at the numbers and you know that a lot of it has occurred in clutch, see, that's the big thing to me. If there were no clutch performances, that would be different. But when you show up, when it's time to show
he gets
up
all the clutch
at home
bonus
on
points
the road, give that man that love.
He gets all the clutch bonus points from me. But just to quickly disprove your point that it doesn't matter that he's a DH.
About what you're saying,
if you're a shortstop, the offensive standards to make the Hall of Fame are lower than if you're a first baseman, because there are more first basemen that can hit than shortstops. There are fewer people who can play shortstop. Everyone can play DH, so the offensive standards are
Everyone
much
can play DH.
higher.
Who's played DH like him? Who's played DH like David
Edgar
Ortiz?
Martinez and Jim Thome, who were every bit the hitters he was.
So let them in too. Oh, Jim Thome was every bit the hitter?
Yeah.
I love Jim Thome. Jim Thome was big time. But I'm talking about in terms of clutch performances.
I mean,
really?
No, he was not as clutch as David Ortiz.
All right. Okay.
Ortiz is a special clutch player. That is true.
Thank you.
All right.
Hall of Fame.
Let's leave it there, guys. Agree to disagree. So you heard them on Big Papi's legacy. Max says he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Stephen A says he absolutely is. We want to know what you think at home. Go on Twitter now. Vote. We'll share those results a little later in the show.